Hello, my name is Sergio Delam, and in this video I'm going to show you how to add validation constraints to a Micronaut application. I have here a Java record. I want to validate that this ID and name cannot be an empty string or a null value. To do that, I'm going to add Micronaut validation to my application. So if you go to, let me just load the Micronaut documentation. If you go to the Micronaut documentation, you will find a link to validation. Micronaut validation is a subset, is an implementation of the Beam validation specification. Without using any reflection, we do as much as possible at compilation time. So that's why we need an annotation processor dependency in our class path. So I'm gonna add the dependencies that the documentation tells me to add. Let me just load my IDE. So this is a Gradle, a Micronaut application built with Gradle. So I'm gonna add here, I'm gonna set here validation, and I'm gonna add my annotation processor. And I also need an implementation dependency, a compile dependency for those of you thinking about Maven scope. So I need the Micronaut validation also. So I need an annotation processor and a Micronaut validation. I need to add my validation constraints now. So I can do now not blank, which is not a Micronaut annotation, but an annotation from the Beam validation specification. So not blank for both. So I'm going to say not blank, not blank. Let me write a test for this. This is going to fail because in order for Micronaut validation to work, the class needs to be introspected, and my account class was not introspected. Let me show you the failure. So I'm going to say name is required. And I'm going to do here, I'm going to inject here, so this is going to be a Micronaut test. I'm going to inject a validator. We can inject the Jakarta validator, for example. We could inject, there is an equivalent in Micronaut. So I'm going to do validator validate, and I'm going to do new account, and we're going to do here, I think it's 400. Something like this in the Spanish accounting. So this will be valid. So I'm going to say assert true. The validate method returns a set of constraint violations. So if the thing is valid, it returns an empty set, and thus the test passes. I'm going to say valid account here. Let me run the test, and we're going to see, I think the test failed because of the introspection that I mentioned. It says bin introspection not found in account, so that's pretty easy to solve. We can have to add the add introspected annotation, and Micronaut at compilation time, it will generate metadata information to instantiate the class without using any reflection. So if I run the test again, the test should be green, and now I can validate my name, my ID. ID cannot be null or an empty string, and I'm going to say the same for name. So we expect this to be false when we do this, null, and when we do this. And same for name. We expect this test to pass. Let me run the test, and the test pass. As you see, pretty easy to use simple constraint validations, annotations such as not blank in a Micronaut application, and I show you how to rest a test for it so that you are building with confidence. Thanks a lot for watching.